4, 5, 7, 9, 10. Okay. Hello, internet world. There's a fucking glare behind me, so I'm gonna try and make my head block it. So yeah, I tried to find that story famous. It wasn't in the place where I thought I put it, so I don't know where it is. I'm sure it'll turn up at some point, once I get digging into these piles. But yeah, so I just went into my closet, I pulled out the notebook, the first notebook on top, and guess what it fucking is? It's that goddamn story with that guy named Mooley. But I will not say Mooley 100 fucking times. So I'm gonna, every time I run into his name, and he's like the main character too. Every time I run into his name, I'm gonna try and remember to change it to Maury. I don't think Maury, like Moray Eel or anything like that, is fucking offensive. I'm pretty sure that Maury is just a fucking name. So yeah, that's my plan. Yeah, this story I think is from like around 2013. I had a lot of weird fractal stories around that time. And yeah, let's get started. Actually, I'm gonna turn on the light. It's all written in pencil and it's really faded. And plus it'll kill that glare in the back, I hope so at least. Oh no, it didn't kill the glare is still there. Maybe I can turn the... No, it's still there. Fuck it. Whatever. Okay. Let's get this story started. It has no title either. It's in a really beat up ass fucking notebook. There's like pages about the... Actually, the first couple pages are falling out, see? But anyways. He stood the exact same as Maury, with his fingers in the rungs of the fence and looking up on tiptoe as if wanting to get closer to Gessie, but could not. I used to roleplay as Gessie all the time. Come on, boy, jump, he said again with a low laugh. Maury shot him a glare. Cut that out, D. What good's he gonna do jumping down on your side of the fence? He still gotta get back here. The man, who probably was a handful of years older, looked at him and shrugged. Maybe he can dig under. D, the blonde scolded. Maury is the blonde. He laughed again. Oh, fuck it, I didn't think he'd really do it. Relax. Michi was standing behind Maury and pacing a bit back and forth uneasily. He too looking up at Gessie, but Gessie was not looking back at any of them, and he just kept crouched, his eyes closed and shook. He can't hear none of you anyway, Michi answered. I don't think. He paused a moment, but despite what he said, he tried his hand at it. Hey, Gessie, you hear me? Dee's eyes moved suddenly, from up at their friend, to out at the stretch of field behind them. His smile vanished in a split second. He let go of the fence in a heartbeat and took 2 steps back. Oh no, look here. Y'all are in trouble now. Huh? Maury and Michi, in the same instant, turned their heads. Maury shook the damp hair out of his eyes, but even with his vision obscured, he would have been able to see it. The off-white truck roaming across the open field towards them. Like the other man, he quickly let go of the fence and watched the vehicle nervously. He fidgeted in the grass, stepping here and there, flirting with the idea of running, bolting back to the cornfield. But he couldn't. He could not leave Gessie, especially when Michi was not running either. Yards from them, the truck stopped and the door swung open. Both doors, actually, before Maury or Michi had time to realize how strange that was. Tanner was stepping out of the truck. Michi did not seem phased, but Maury's jaw dropped. Who is that? He breathed. Don't know, Michi replied. Looks like a friend of the captain. Hell damn, Maury answered him, as if awed. Never saw him around here before, that's for sure. The two were coming steady towards them across the field, not hurrying, though they could see the captain pointing at Gessie up on the fence, he guessed. Oh, Guess, Mihi murmured, you're really gonna get it now. It's funny how, like, they're on a farm. I don't think they said it yet. They said something about a cornfield, but yeah, they're supposed to be farm boys. I have a thing about farms and farm boys. There's a lot of stories written about those. And it's funny because the most recent story I was writing, they called it, this guy, they call him Captain. Like, there's always this, like, mixture of, like, farms and military rank or whatever. So, like, just how they're calling this guy Captain. In the newer story that I was writing, there's this guy, he's kind of like, he's not the one in charge, but he's kind of like the bottom bitch of all the farmhands. Like, he's under the master of the farm, as they say, but he's still one of the farmhands, but he's like the higher ranking farmhand, and basically his name is Lou, and it's not Lewis, it's short for lieutenant. So that theme persists even to this day, I guess. It's part of my writing. Anyway, maybe not, Maury said. He sometimes is soft with Gessie. Sometimes, but I don't think now is one of those sometimes. Alright, here. The captain's voice bellowed from behind them, and they jumped. They had not realized he was so close by, but when they turned, there they were, faced with him and this tall black stranger. Right away, Maury started to stutter in submission. He ran for the fence, the blonde said. He ran out here, scared for his cousin, and he ran up on that fence and got stuck. He put up his hands in front of himself defensively. Don't ask me why. I didn't do nothing. I didn't taunt him, honest to God. He thinks something's wrong with Gyro. Maury, hush, God, Mihi mumbled, almost embarrassed for him. He took a step back. You're making yourself look guilty. The captain squinted, and his eyes went quickly up at the top of the fence, where Gessie was still crouched, balanced there and gripping for his dear life, shaking like a leaf in a breeze. That was how he looked to the captain, like a leaf, thin and loose and full of sinew. All of you, hush, the farm owner commanded them. He looked to Dee then on the other side of the fence. Is there something wrong with Gyro? Dee looked at him, surprised, taken back, and while he stayed silent, Maury voiced his thoughts for the both of them. Oh God, Daddy's saying? This has just took a kinky turn. Daddy, you don't get it. We were off in the cornfield. That's a quarter mile from here. How is it that Gessie could hear anything from Gyro? He's imagining. Hush, the captain said again, this time more roughly. Maury shrunk down from him immediately. This is really kinky shit. Oh well. It's kind of what I was doing after college, you know, I was writing a bunch of kinky shit. And I guess it's never really ended. His shoulders came up and his eyes down on the hot grass, and Mihi, even though his body language wasn't as dramatic, stepped back as well. He eyed the captain and this new stranger, trying to read the stranger's face, but he could not. His expression was too stoic. Dee shifted uncomfortably. Gyro ran into the house screaming, he said then, confessing quietly. He wrung his hands in front of his waist as he took a nervous step or two back. They were gonna drug him or something, I don't know. Something that ain't nothing, but you know how Gyro is. What's going on in this story? Mihi and Maury, at the same time, looked away from the grass and turned their heads to stare at him. You son of a bitch, Mihi spat. He took a few steps towards the fence as Dee, on the other side, quickly moved away from him. You didn't tell us that when you first came running up. I know all these guys are probably supposed to have southern accents. It seems like this takes place in the South, by the way they say ain't and ain't nothing and all that shit. but I'm not gonna do the southern accents. You didn't have nothing to say but to laugh at Gessie. Swear to God, if I see you soon on the other side of this fence, His sentence was cut short, though, with a rough act sound as the captain snatched him by the back of his wife beater and gave him a sharp yank. Get out of here, India. Oh, I guess D is short for India. That's another character I used to roleplay as, when you could still name your characters after countries and it wasn't seen as racist or anything like that. I used to roleplay as some of these guys. I used to do Mori, Gessie, Mihi, India, probably all of them, but like those are the ones I remember. So basically this is just a big jerk-off fest, I guess, but welcome to post-college writing. Where was I? And the captain barked to the other farmhand, "Get back to work. I'm sure your supervisor wonders where you are." What are you meowing about, baby? But India was just backing away slowly, staring like an animal in headlights with his dark eyes. "Get!" the captain snapped again. And finally, like hearing the crack of a whip, he turned in a heartbeat and raced off across the other field, showing just his back getting smaller and smaller. Mickey growled, trying to wrench free of the captain's hold on him. "Let me go, you bastard," he muttered. "Is that any way to talk to your superior officer? I ain't gonna chase him. What do you think, an old man like me? I'm 36, what am I gonna do? Oh, 36, such an old-ass man. Get out your walker and cane." He looked the captain in the face, pale eyes to pale eyes. Plus he's pretty brave, talked back to him of Mori was fucking pissing himself just because the captain walked up to him and he thought he was gonna get in trouble before he even said anything. Miki's just like, "Fuck you, asshole, get your hands off the back of my undershirt," or whatever. Okay, pale eyes, waiting for pain, expecting the numbing ring of a slap across his face. See, he doesn't care, he's like a seasoned whore, I suppose. But it didn't come. The captain paused for a long moment and then, with a dark laugh, let him go. "Get out of here, Miki," he said. Do you know how old I am?" Suddenly he was laughing, big and deep, and the stranger too, laughing with him. Mihi looked back and forth, from one of them to the other, eyeing them uneasily. And when his gaze went to Mori, Mori was already looking at him. Mihi's own confusion mirrored on the younger man's face. The captain shook his head, and like that his laughter stopped. The stranger was still settling his own down as the captain made his way over to the fence. "Get back to work," he said offhandedly to Mihi and Mori. But like India, they did not listen the first time. They fidgeted on their feet and took a step or two back, but they were watching, waiting to see what would happen. Without seeming to care at this moment if they obeyed him or not, he came right up to the fence, took hold of the links, and climbed. "Come on, Gessie," the man growled quietly. "Don't mope around here. Your cousin can take care of himself." He was as close then as he was going to get. With one hand he let go of the chain links and reached up, touching his frightened farmhand on the hair. He could feel him shiver. He could see it. The damp tears on his face, the tension of his wormy body. He was covered in sweat from the heat, shining off his mocha skin, and the scrapes and scabs and little bruises, but his posture was as if he was freezing. Tanner came nearer. One thumb was hooked into his pocket. The other hand dangled at his side. He was very careful how he approached. Oh, that's it. That might have actually been from later on or something in the story. Or maybe that's an intro, I don't fucking know. But that's the end of that part. Now it says chapter 1, yellow. Panting, Jacob, or Jacob, I don't know which one. I used to roleplay as this guy too. I'm gonna call him Jacob just cause, like, that's more fun. you know? Slowed his running and peered back over one husky shoulder. Slowed, but never entirely stopped, and soon he was looking ahead again, back to sprinting. From down in the low dip of the field's valley, he could hear Maury's crying and screaming out, even as he put more and more distance between them. So the poor blonde had been caught, and that was that. The sounds were haunting, even with the huge sun above, in full bloom. Not a single shadow all across the green field, middle of the day, but Jakob couldn't let the sweat rolling off his back and arms slow him down. Jakob knew that Maury couldn't possibly be being hurt as badly as he was carrying on, but the thought still didn't soothe him. Now that he was a bit of a distance away, he could hear less of Maury and more of the captain's angry, growling shouts. Somehow those curses traveled further. He began to slow. Under the sweltering sun, his boots dug into the brown earth as if it were sand, swallowing up his steps, sapping out his energy. The fear in his head screeched at him in frantics. Keep going, mind over matter, just one more step and one more, but his head alone couldn't drive his body, and he knew that there were more enemies to his stamina than just the driving heat of the sun. Half collapsing, he was already reaching for the lax grass before his knees even touched down. His lungs coughed violently, gasping for air, or grasping for air, same thing. And, his mouth spat out white foam that had collected on his lips. Yes, a rest, just a sweet rest. Almost before he could flinch, Jakob's ears realized the crunch of boots on the field. His eyes went wide, half crazed, trying to look back for a moment, while at the same time having to rocket up off the ground like a sprinter. It was all lost. The captain had come up too fast, too sudden, and now he was upon Jakob. A fist grabbed into his wafy, tawny hair. That iron grip, that hold that Jakob knew for being impossible to wriggle out of. Panic took him over and seized all the reason out of him. Rather than go rigid and still, he wriggled wildly. A big man though he was, he squealed like a hog, which in seconds became more like the unearthly shriek of a coyote. This is a weird story. The calloused palm of the captain's hand whacked instantly, solidly against his jaw and parched lips, with a splitting crack, at least that kind of sound, to Jakob's ears. Immediately, Jakob tried to crouch his head and throw up his arms to protect his face, but it was no use. The captain only wrenched his head back and gave an equally heavy slap to the other side of Jakob's face. And some abuse going on. "You slut," the older, gray-bearded man snarled, shouting through his teeth. "You big filthy whore. All of you whores." And again he smacked Jacob, open-palmed, mercilessly across the mouth. The young man cowered from stinging blows, but he couldn't wring away. The older man was too strong. All he could manage was avoid one hit, but when the captain's whack landed on the side of his head, throwing up Jacob, whatever, long hair, but not hitting on target, the captain only became more angry and snarled again with pure, enraged sound. He yanked Jakob's head back again and hit him across the jaw with that much more fervor. "Stop!" Jakob, near tears, more with fear than pain, begged him frantically. "Stop! Don't! Sir! Mr. Padre!" He yelped when he was struck again. "Sir, please." That's fucking awful. "Shut your mouth, you filthy whore," the man bellowed in return. He's supposed to be saying that way louder, but I'm not about to scream, "You filthy whore," in a big-ass voice right now. Only struck him again. How many times has he fucking hit him by now? He's just going in. "Padre, no." Is Jakob a Spanish speaker? I don't think so. I remember him being like a German or something. Or like something like that. "Be quiet. I take you in out of your father's backyard, and this is how you repay me?" The captain was now pantsing a bit, though his grit was strong as ever, right up until the last moment when he threw Jakob fiercely to the ground. It's 20 minutes, let me stop.